And then you have the CRO bottleneck, which is most people don't think. They think their transformation is the bottleneck. It's not. It's the output. Your output is experimentation learnings, movements, iterations, whatever it is that you're doing. That is the bottleneck. You do not have enough resources to be able to implement and move and do whatever it is that you're transforming that data in on the outside of it. If you did, you wouldn't be doing experimentation.
Welcome to No Hacks Show, a weekly podcast in which smart people talk to you about better online experiences. Today I'm joined by Shawn David from Automate to Win. Shawn is a systems engineer who uses his industry knowledge and human-first approach to help businesses optimize processes through automation and AI. Shawn, welcome to No Hacks Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Very happy to be here.
Great to have you on, finally. So today we're talking about automating CRO.
Mm-hmm.
Not an easy thing to do, not always an easy thing to do, but it's possible, it's doable. And as we talked about before I hit record, you can automate most things in your life, including CRO. So you have a 4-step framework for automation. Can we go through the 4 steps now? Like, what are they?
So it's just for any business, any vertical, not just in CRO. So there's 4 steps, but it's a caveat because step 0, if you've ever heard me speak before, is definitions. Step 0 is define your terms. So if you don't have that, and I literally mean this, and define your adjectives, your verbs, everything about that. So if it's a KPI, if it's an OKR, if it's a metric, whatever, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Just everyone gets in line. So you get your dictionary. That's step 0. Most companies have something like this, so I don't really include it in the framework because it's different. But that's critical because if one team calls it, let's say one team calls it a KPI, one team calls it a metric, that's just friction that you don't need, right? So get that out of the way. But the first step in this whole thing is to identify the busy work in your situation. And then you want to identify the bottlenecks that cause that busy work. Okay. From there, you optimize those internal processes. You don't ever really want to worry about external processes. Work at your internal. And then from there, automation. So the win state in Automate to Win is identifying basically all the things that you just don't need to do and then letting automations and robots take that away so you can concentrate on the stuff that you do want to do and the stuff that your clients are paying you to do. And that's why it's called human first, because you're putting the human first.
I love that. How did you get started with automation? I want to hear about that.
I don't know. Honestly, the whole concept of doing things in a way that don't have to like use my mental capacity has been forever. But probably the whole systems thing comes, I got into a really bad car accident when I was 17 and I got laid up. I've had like 9 surgeries on my knees, and both of my knees are reconstructed. So I've had to learn how to walk again as an adult multiple times. So like these concepts and processes and working through like physical therapy with people and going through and seeing like my father built me this pulley system with a CRT monitor when I was a kid because I'm old and these things used to be heavy.
CRT monitors were a thing, yeah.
They were heavy, you know what I mean? Like these things were 40 or 50 pounds. And my dad, who was an aircraft mechanic, he built this entire rigged up pulley system so that there is a CRT monitor in front of me while I was laid up in traction. So while I was learning like this, what physical movement meant, my brain was able to go and I could like escape. And this was 95, 96. So like AOL was just coming out. I was like the first host Shawn of AOL back in the day. I had an animal related teenage based chat in AOL, and they wanted a teen to do it because they obviously didn't want an adult to moderate. And I did that because you had to pay for AOL back in the day. You had to dial in. There was, I'm old, guys. So
did you just hear the sound of a dial-up modem?
Yeah.
As you were saying.
So my parents obviously couldn't afford me being online all the time. You're paying by the minute. You know what I mean? I got this. I figured out the way. I figured out the system of how to get in, and now I'm host Shawn. So once a week on Fridays, I would have to go and host a pet related chat, but I got free AOL for that. So I
Right.
was online 24/7. I couldn't move, guys. Like my dad literally carried me to the bathroom to wash myself and use the bathroom. Like I could not move for years. So this made me have to either feel sorry for myself, which I'm not going to do, or figure it out. And what made me be able to do this type of thing was, all right, cool. Let me start playing video games. Let me start building websites. And then from there, you start tinkering. And you start building. And you start realizing that, hey, I'm doing this often. I'm doing a lot of this stuff. Like, oh, I'm starting a new video game, and I'm creating the same type of website that I was creating. And this is before CSS, guys. This is just straight HTML. So, oh, okay, I can just copy and paste this as a framework. And that's where the mind starts,
That's quite cool.
It's a weird
I love the
story,
flashback. I love the flashback. I was there. I remember the 90s online as well. It was, in many ways, it was much nicer than today. It was more boring, but that's kind of the beauty of it, because you had to actively pursue things online. They didn't just come at you and then bombard you with information. Step one of the framework. Let's get started with that.
Sure.
Identifying the busy work. Like, what qualifies as busy work? And if we can talk about that specifically in CRO, let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So busy work across the board is anything that's manual, repeatable, and done the same way, exactly the same time, every time. So it's really easy. So what you can do, I mean, just automate2win.com/automation quiz. It's a 9-question thing that'll give you a 75 PDF of what you can do. It's a really cool thing. But busy work. So you go in and you look at, what am I doing that is manual, repetitive, and does not require me to think? That's like the real key. The thing is, like, what am I doing that is just, it has to get done because it needs to, but I don't have to do it. In CRO specifically, this is like updating the client that your status has changed, or like giving your client a weekly report of your test ideas or ideations or movements or tests and status. Like all of these outward reporting or inward reporting between teams. You can do like things like segmentation of reviews and that type of stuff. To me, that's busy work. It's a defendable position for some analysts to say that they want to use their brain to do an analysis and a segmentation, and that's fair. But for me, I think that like Iqbal's working on something for the last 2 years that's really dope. I got something that's pretty dope. There's a lot of guys out there that have tools that you can just feed survey results and get segmentation back, get analysis back, and then your analysis can begin from there. So you're removing that like 4 or 5 hours of going through and copying from a survey tool, or like reorganizing and scoring and doing all of these different things that you would have to do with like survey results or something like that. Basic rote manipulation of data within CRO is really like the low-hanging fruit. Like if you're going in GA4 and you're pulling a report from GA4, you're putting that into a Google Sheet. From Google Sheet, you're putting that into an Airtable. From Airtable, you're putting that into a Google Slide. From Google Slide, you're sending an email. From that email, you're taking that email and adding it back into your Airtable. No thanks.
Well said. But so basically, it's work that if you offload it to an automation, it's not going to suffer. The quality of work is not going to suffer in any single way. And this is not like, you won't even notice. And this is not, I'll let AI handle it. No, this is actually way more simple than that. It's basically, the if this then that of processes to basically, if this happens, if it's the first of the month, go there, pull this data, send it there, then format it, send it there, and like within a minute, your 5 hours of work have been done, and no one will know.
Yeah, and you could, and if you want to be disingenuous about it, you can still charge for that 5 hours. Like, I don't knock any hustle. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care about any of that. Me personally, I would more rather have a transparent conversation with my client and be like, yo, I just saved all this time, so I'm going to put this time over here. And then everyone is like clear about it. But a lot of people will say, no, I have a set boundaries and I want to automate this away so that way I can have free time within that to be able to move. That's fine too. The client accepted to pay for a certain amount. So no hustle is knocked. There's two different ways of looking at that. The way that I like to look at busy work is it eliminates time wasted. not time spent. So this is the key, because you're not looking to eliminate just things you don't want to do. If that's what you're looking to do something else with your life. Like, that's really...
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. That's a really good point. So what's the difference between busy work and a adding activity?
All right. So when you go, busy work is something that you literally don't have to do. Like, you don't have to do it. When you get,
but it needs to be done.
But it has to get done.
Yeah.
The garbage has to get taken out. The floor has to get swept. The toilet paper has to be replaced. Okay. That doesn't have to be you, though, and it doesn't have to be a human. And I'm not saying like you can just reduce another human and give it to them so you don't have to do it. I'm saying no one has to do this. No human has to do this. And the easiest thing to do, it literally is just as simple as you said. If you can create an if-then path with no branches, okay, just then
right.
bye-bye. That's it. Why is anyone doing this? Like, if you literally can just breadcrumb your way,
if it's linear, yep, exactly.
Why is anyone doing that task? And if anyone is coming to you and saying any reason other than feelings and emotions, then you have nothing, like, and that's fine. You can't deny that, like, because feelings and emotions are real and there are reasons for that. So fine, let's deal with that. Let's see if we can deal with that. But to someone then say objectively because this is better or not, no. Just get rid of it.
So basically, washing the dishes by hand relaxes me would be an example.
Perfect. Right? Great. Then wash the dishes. But don't say it's because it's more efficient than the dishwasher or it uses less water than the dishwasher.
Because you enjoy...
No, it's because you like it. And that's fine. And that's fine. But you call
need to be aware of it. Yeah. You need to be aware of it. Exactly. So step 2 is pinpointing the bottlenecks.
So now you have 3 different types of bottlenecks that I personally have identified. This is my personal thing. Input, transformation, output. What does this mean? Input, you have a greater than sign. You know what I mean? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have you just have a bottleneck, and you just can't handle the inputs. You have your transformational, which is what you think about. It's the hourglass, meaning you have plenty of stuff coming in, but you can't do whatever it is you're supposed to do. So and then at the out, you have unlimited out. And then you have the CRO bottleneck, which is most people don't think. They think their transformation is the bottleneck. It's not. It's the output. Your output is experimentation learnings, movements, iterations, whatever it is that you're doing. That is the bottleneck. You do not have enough resources to be able to implement and move and do whatever it is that you're transforming that data in on the outside of it. If you did, you wouldn't be doing experimentation. Like, you would just be doing the things because you have unlimited outputs, and then your transformation would be the bottleneck because you know what I'm saying? So you have to identify where these bottlenecks are. Your internal processes more than likely are going to be transformational, meaning you cannot transform the amount of data being sent into you in a certain amount of time to be able to meet the criteria of your client's output. So your internal processes probably are going to be there. It's going to be like, I have a survey, I have a Clarity Hotjar, I have user test, I have 50 inputs. I have to transform those inputs somehow. I have to analyze them. I have to whatever, right? What you guys do in CRO. And then I have to output those. And I have to say, I have to give these to my clients somehow, or I have to feed those back into an input system or whatever it is you have. That transformational bottleneck, that right there is where you live forever until you have optimized all of those processes. When I say optimize those processes, what I mean by that is everyone has to understand that they're running a relay race in the business. So someone starts it, but then there's always someone else waiting for the baton. And if Phil from accounting is always handing you a baton that's on fire, like, this sucks. Yeah. Because now I have to put the baton out. I have to figure it out. Maybe I have to get another, but I still have to run my race. So I hate Phil. And Phil doesn't even...
Everybody hates Phil.
Everybody hates Phil, but Phil's a dope guy, so it's dichotomous because he's an awesome dude. And we go out after, and we go to like baseball games together, and Phil's dope. But every single time he hands me data, it's on fire. And I
Right.
can't have this conversation with him because we speak different things. And he calls it a metric and this and that. And he comes at me with financial information. And I call it a OKR and this and that. And my definitions aren't right. So my transformation can't happen. Phil keeps sending me data all day long. This guy he's a maniac, dude. He's sending me everything that he possibly can. But I got to shape it and transform it when I get it. So I still got to move. And I still got to make this work. And then I got to figure out, okay, do I spend the extra time giving it to Janice, who is my designer? Or can I not? Because Phil's sending me this fire and I just got to transform it as best I can and get it to her. And now she hates Shawn. She hates the engineer because I take it from the finance guy and I gave it to her. And she's like, what is this? Can you just give me a design document? And I'm like, I'm an engineer. I don't know what a design document is. All of this.
Where's the bottleneck in all of this between Phil and Janice?
Dictionary
and
of terms.
Dictionary of terms. Okay.
They aren't speaking the same language. So I have to shape what he's calling something. So he's like, hey, I need an experiment, and what we're going to do is we're going to use this OKR, and it's going to be on this page, and it's going to be on this section. I'm going to use this swim lane, and I'm going to use this, right? And these are the first times I've ever heard any of these words. So now I have to go and build a thesaurus to my own dictionary. And if Janice's dictionary is different, now I have to keep a running tally of definition, like a dictionary, and then a thesaurus from Phil and from Janice. And if that at any time, my brain is unable to take more inputs. So then if the CEO comes and sends me a message and is like, yo, what's going on here? I'm just, there is no answer to that. The only answer is, I don't like my job.
Yeah. Which is a sad answer, but it's a reality for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And this is step zero. This is step zero you mentioned. Like,
Yep.
Get your shit together and know what you're talking about. The entire organization, not just a person.
Everyone. And it just doesn't matter. And this is the problem. This is an ego play too, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come in there and they're going to have very strong opinions about what things should be called. And nothing of that matters because it's all made up anyways. So, that is the biggest key, is just being like, someone has to be the person that says, no, this is what we call things. And there has to be consequences for someone not using those labels, or all of this is an exercise in futility.
Taking a quick break from the framework, you mentioned egos.
Yeah.
When can you be right but not helpful online?
Anytime that you have a situation where you feel that it is more important for you to be correct or perceived correct than it is for you to move a conversation forward or to actually contribute to anything. So being correct but not helpful is busy work.
I love that. Yeah.
You were doing nothing. You were vomiting words that make you feel good about whatever it is because you feel you understand the other person's statement, but in reality you don't. In reality, you're probably wrong. In reality, it doesn't matter. So, when we were kids, our parents always used to say something to us. They said, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say something at all. I don't know what happened to that, but I really like that.
Absolutely.
Just shut up. Like, if you don't, there's no reason. It's like those kids, like there's a meme now where it's just, actually, you know what I mean? Like, no, actually. Like, no. Like, if somebody's slightly wrong, they're using the wrong context, they're using the wrong word or something like that, it's not your job to correct them. You don't.
100%. 100%. Did you watch The Office?
Oh, yeah.
Oscar, actually?
Yeah. Right. Actually. Right.
That was ridiculous 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
now,
the norm. It's
now
the norm.
The norm.
Like, you have to say something. Like, if there's a text box, you have to write something. No.
You really
let
don't.
it go, move away. Moving on to the third step of the framework. Thank you for explaining that to me. Optimizing internal processes. How does that work?
So it's perfect. Now we're to a situation where we say, all right, we've basically gotten rid of all this busy work. Like, I don't have to do this anymore. Phil has given me no longer on fire things. Janice is no longer hating me. Everyone is happy. So now what? Now you have a conversation. Now you say, hey, Phil, what about giving me this data from your data is causing you any sort of like emotional, psychological damage? Because we've already removed the busy work part and the data shaping part from our bottlenecks. So we're looking at this and we're like, all right, we have our definition. We've shaped our data. Everyone is kind of talking to each other in the same way. Hey, Phil, how do you like to work, homie? What is it that you like to do? Like, you're the money guy, right? So you're approving all this stuff. Like, do you like being in a task management system? Mm-hmm. Or like, do you just want to be in like QuickBooks? Like, is there a way? I don't know. Let's figure. And then Janice is like, yo, I just want a design document. Like, you keep sending me this thing and that's fine. But then I got to go and put this into my variables. Like, maybe is there a way for you to just kind of just give me what I need and then we could work together? And then you look at this and then you say, oh, all right, how do we figure this out? All right, let's build a system to allow me to grab a screenshot and build a design deck directly from whatever system that I'm already building my experimentation program from. So not only do I spin up the experimentation deck for my client, but I also spin up the design document. I take 5 or 6 hours to front load that. And now every time Janice needs a design document, I just spin one up for it. And she says, hey, Shawn, I have a question about that. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Cool. Boom. Design document V1.1. And now you have version control, you have receipts, you have everything that you need to go back in time to determine who is having a problem with all of these inputs and outputs. And now if Phil wants to stay in QuickBooks and QuickBooks has an API and he can assign money to developers and then you can then get a chunk of money that can then come to me and I can see, okay, great, I have a budget of $5,000 for this week for this test. This is what I can build. You know?
That's pretty good. And it going back to what you said, it's human centered. Like this whole approach is human centered. Like you need to make it work for Phil. You need to make it easy for Phil to work and not hate his job and life. Janice as well, everybody involved. This reminds me a lot of what I used to do with web performance optimization. What I always used to say to people is, first you eliminate all the junk you can eliminate, and only then are you allowed to optimize how you deliver the rest of the page, what's left. Like, this is exactly that. Like, you need to eliminate all the busy work, pinpoint the bottleneck, and when you're done eliminating all the junk, like, let's just talk about making what's left better. But, I mean, you have to do that because otherwise you'll be optimizing something that you should just discard, delete, and remove from the equation.
There's just no reason. And then the last and final part of this is just the automation. And that's what's funny about this. Is like, this is step 4, 30 minutes into a conversation, high level, where you're like, oh,
and now we're
I can start automating.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just jump into this. It doesn't work that way. Nothing that's worth doing can just be done. There has to be setup. So, you know, everyone wants to talk about AI. Great. AI is step 5. AI is step 5.
Yep.
There's no other way around this because, okay, let's say you just plug AI into your business. Now you're going on untrained data that has no idea, no context of your business and is working on everyone else's business. So just do best practices.
I mean, it's literally junk in, different kind of junk out if you do that. And
faster.
Faster, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And less true, maybe, like unverified. But basically, just to recap the 4-step, is it a framework, process? What's the official term?
I guess you can call it a blueprint if you want to.
A blueprint. I like that. I like it. Old school blueprint.
It's you just step 0. First of all, is definition of terms. This is what you do. Right. Define what it is that you have. If you don't have that, like I honestly am of the opinion that every company should print their own dictionary.
Ooh.
Like literally, these are the verbs, adjectives, adverbs, everything. Dictionary of whatever. This is the No Hacks dictionary. So when somebody logs in,
that's a 1-page document. That's not nothing crazy. Yeah.
I mean, maybe 2 pages if you're like enterprise or something. Yeah. But no, of course. It's a sheet. It's like, here's the bathroom, here's payroll, here's your key card, here's the dictionary. Like, it's simple. Here you go. This is what we call things. And from there, it's like, oh, well, I don't call it that. Well, now you do. You know,
good luck.
Good luck. Because if you don't, there's going to be problems. And everyone here is dialed into that. So step 0, define those terms. Easy. And if you're having a problem with that, then you don't understand what you do in the first place. And I can't help you. Step 1, identify all the busy work after you have your terms. Step 2, bottlenecks. 3 different types of bottlenecks: input, transformation, output. Step 3, optimize those processes. And then step 4 is automate those. And automation only is making everything faster. So the automation part of it only is like the very easiest part.
Yeah.
Like technologically, it's difficult, I guess, if you don't know what you're doing. But you have
But
an
it gets
LLM
easier.
and Zapier. It gets easier.
Yeah.
You know, so I would say the time spent, it's the stupid Abraham Lincoln thing. If I had 4 hours to cut down a tree, I would spend 3 sharpening the axe. Like, sharpen the axe, and then the automation gets cut right through.
There's nothing stupid about that quote. Like this is, if more people followed that, like we'd have sharper axes.
The quote is
#1.
great.
Yeah.
The quote is great. The usage and like the ubiquitousness of it with no one else. It's like calling a spade a spade. No one understands what that means. It means that the shovel and the spade are different. And if you ask for a shovel, I'm going to give you a shovel. And you're going to be like, why did you give me that? And be like, you wanted a shovel. Like, well, no, I wanted that. Well, that's a spade. So, you know, but it's also being like kind of pedantic and not fun at parties.
But you need to have a dictionary.
Yes, you
Which
have to
means
have a
you're not going to be
dictionary.
fun at parties unless
Yeah.
it's a company party and everybody speaks the same language.
Right. And then everyone has fun because you can actually talk about the same thing without having to translate it, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. This was awesome. What's the best way for the audience to connect with you?
AutomateToWin.com is the website. LinkedIn, Elm Street Shawn is the thing. If you go to AutomateToWin.com/automation quiz, you can take a free quiz that will allow you to figure out what is in your business that you can automate. And it's a 75-page document that gives you worksheets and workbooks and tells you how to identify and what to do. So I'm of the opinion that if somebody just holds up a mirror of what's wrong, that's not helpful at all. So for me, I'm of the opinion, correct but not helpful is not something to do. So I'm correct and helpful in the way that it will tell you this is what to do. And I'll give you a quick outcap of what that is. If you're on a Mac or a PC, there's things called sticky keys, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And a PC, you can hit Shift 5 times. It'll turn on sticky keys. What is this? Well, people have one finger, right? There's humans that exist with one finger. They exist. How do they copy paste? With their nose?
Ooh.
With their finger? Men can do it, but nah, you know? So they have sticky keys. So you hit Shift 5 times, or you go into the accessibility of Mac, you turn on sticky keys. What does this mean? It means you can hit Control, and it goes boop, and then you can hit C, and it goes boop. So now you've copied, and you can do the same thing, Control V. Right. Awesome. I'm super dope. I'm happy that engineers have done that. I really like that accessibility option. I'm going to co-opt that for people that are able-bodied. Sorry. Turn that on. Every time you hit Control C, you write that down. Why am I copying right now? What am I doing? Every time you hit Control V, you write that down. What am I pasting into? Why did I just copy paste? What am I doing? Then at the end of it, and the reason you write it down is because it's a pattern interruption. It breaks and you have to write because most people don't write anymore. And it will make you remember it, and it's inconvenient, and you have to stop what you're doing. Yeah, well, we're old, bro. And you have to pattern break, and you have to literally write with a pencil or a pen. And you say, journal this down. And at the end of it, you can use software that just listens, and you can use that once you figure it out. But you do this because it will actually start to realize, like, holy shit, I just copied 50 times today, and I don't know why. I'm just bouncing back and forth between programs. And that may not seem like a big thing, but it is, because you can't watch 2 TV shows at the same time because they have different UIs. You are interacting with them differently. And if you're watching a comedy and you're watching a mystery, you cannot do that because your brain just doesn't work that way. So if you're in Excel and you're in slides, these are different things. So if you're coming from one to the other, at all times, you have both. So you have neither. So you remove that and you just stay in the one tool. So get rid of the copy paste. If you're taking from one to the other, you're looking at this and you're saying, I don't need to do this. I can, there are APIs to connect every single one of these programs. So if you're copying from one into the other, just stop.
That's a good example. That's what everybody can do today to start
Right now.
automating their life and their work. All of the links will be in the description, including the automation quiz. This is a free resource, right? Automation quiz.
Yeah.
Everybody should take that quiz. Shawn, thank you for being a guest. This was an awesome episode. I'm going to start automating. I do already, but I'm going to start automating more after I talk to you. That's my call to action. And to everyone listening to this episode, your call to action is to rate, review, share, whatever you want to do with the podcast. And I will talk to you next week.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.